Okay, so what is up, guys? It's Peter, and welcome to a brand new video. Today, we're gonna talk about next gen consoles, more precisely about the Nintendo Switch. There are some huge rumors that the Nintendo Switch Pro might be ready for next year. We have seen that Microsoft and Sony are putting out their next gen consoles this year. Even the Xbox has announced the release date and price of the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S at $499 and $299. We're still waiting on Sony for both of these informations, but they have limited supply on their consoles because of the current pandemic. So they will only allow PlayStation 4 quote unquote diehard fans to be able to pre-order their system first. So what about Nintendo? Since the Switch Lite released, which was actually almost a year ago, believe it or not, this company has been silent for their game releases and confirmed that they had no plans to release any new Nintendo Switch model in 2020. So from September 2019 to September 2020, there hasn't been any big Nintendo Direct or any huge announcements like we used to have back in the day, because after the Switch released, like 2018 was like the craziest year and stuff. We had some amazing releases and stuff, and we haven't seen that in a while. We've seen some announcement and releases like Paper Mario, the release of Min obviously, the Iron Warriors, Age of Calamity, Pikmin 4, Super Mario 3D Stars, Super Mario 3D World. So I feel like Nintendo is really started to get it together, you know what I'm saying? And release some huge games. So what should we expect for next gen Switch? Apparently, Nintendo is asking for the developers to be ready to release 4K games in the near future for Nintendo's next console, I suppose. I mean, that's what people suppose. We don't know if they're aiming for a new console or still gonna stay on the current Nintendo Switch, but I would be extremely surprised if they kept like the same Nintendo Switch but they actually made 4K. That wouldn't really make sense, to be honest. But what does that mean, that they has the developers to like be ready for 4K? Are we finally getting a 4K Nintendo console? That might be the case, to be honest with y'all. We had rumors that Nintendo was working alongside Nvidia to produce a new chip for the Nintendo Switch system that can utilize DLSS 2.0, which means deep learning super sampling, to achieve higher frame rates and resolution through AI without even using more CPU and GPU power. So this new DLSS technology could help a lot of games to easily achieve amazing resolutions and frame rates, because like the Switch is basically the console that hasn't had like good third party experiences. I mean, it wasn't the worst, like the games were still like good and playable, but you know most of the time it was like 720p, 30 fps, 1080p, 30 fps. It wasn't like the greatest resolutions. So with that could like help a lot of third party games, so that's pretty nice. We have seen in the past that Nintendo can just tweak some settings in the graphics card and be able to make the consoles more power efficient, like we've seen with the Switch that released back in 2019, that lasts longer in portable mode. Nintendo are probably not gonna keep the Tegra X1, the chipset that is actually on the Switch, in the new Switch. I just wouldn't see that happening, especially if it's a 4K revision. The current Switch struggles to reach more than 30 FPS on most third-party games, sometimes even if the game is reaching 1080p. For the release date, I would see a holiday 2021 as a perfect moment to release this, but I would also be on board for early 22 release. I wouldn't even be mad. So yeah, maybe this is the reason we have been waiting on so long for games like Bayonetta 3 and Metroid Prime 4, so they can have a day one release that utilize the new hardware to make them look better on the brand new Switch. So releasing a new Switch this year or even early 2021 wouldn't be the greatest idea, because Nintendo is basically leading in consoles and sales, and they are on the way to reach 70 million consoles for their current two models, the Switch and the Switch Lite. Releasing a new model so early would eat up the sales of the current Switch model, and that could reduce their overall earning, because we all know that the cheaper a console is, the more it will sell to people, without forgetting to give as much value as possible to the consumer. So even the PlayStation have learned their lessons with the PlayStation 3. They have sold this console at $800, which was a like the biggest mistake, and they have definitely learned from that. So Nintendo is they're not gonna do the same. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so thank you guys for watching this video. This was just a short video, uh, a suggestive video on what we could expect from a Switch Pro, and but I still try to be realistic with my expectations, because like, it wouldn't be that surprising to get a 4K machine from Nintendo, like especially in 2020. Like, it's been a rough decade for Nintendo because of the Wii U, but I feel like now they can just push the hardware and, like, like so we can see amazing games on the Switch, because there's some pretty amazing game on this console. So I'd be pretty glad to see them at a really good resolution. So that's something I look forward to, Nintendo. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and leave me your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think about all this, and would you pick up a Switch Pro if it was like released by Nintendo? Would you take a Switch Pro even if you have a current Switch? I would like to know. It was Peter. Peace out. Have a good day.